Once the largest land in Europe, Lithuania is now on an alarming course of decline, a unique narrative often overshadowed by its Baltic neighbors. Yet, its story is a distinct genre in itself, one unfortunately moving closer to the fate of silent films than of blockbuster comic book movies. The country suffered immense human losses during the occupations by great powers in the 20th century. Absurdly, these tragic historical figures are dwarfed by the demographic decline now facing the country, a decline tied to its willing entry into a major alliance. While far less sinister in nature than past conflicts, it remains deeply alarming. Due to its almost unbelievable history, outlandish sights, and unique geographical placement, the explanation and exploration of Lithuania will be as rich with fascinating insights as it is with lakes. Located on the shores of the Baltic Sea in the northeastern part of Europe, Lithuania has undergone considerable downsizing since the days we opened with. It is now the 24th largest country on the continent, with 65,300 square kilometers of landmass, making it the 124th largest country in the world, almost identical in size to Sri Lanka. Along with its neighbor Latvia, Lithuania holds the bragging rights of being both the biggest and most populous Baltic state, surpassing both Estonia and Latvia. It is home to approximately 8 million people, ranking it 35th in Europe and 144th globally by population. Bordering Latvia to the north, Belarus on the east and south, Poland to the south, and Russia's Kaliningrad Oblast on the southwest, Lithuania shares a total of 1,574 kilometers of borders, the longest of which is with Belarus at 680 kilometers. Lithuania also has a coastline of 262 kilometers and shares a maritime border with Sweden. Internally, the country is divided into 10 counties, the largest and most populous one being centered around the capital city of Vilnius, which is also the largest city in the country. The city got its name from the Vilnia River, which flows into and connects with the larger Neris River that runs through the heart of the city. Vilnia, meaning ripple in Lithuanian, perfectly reflects its name. The city is home to approximately 550,000 people and is located just 30 kilometers from the border with Belarus. It is nearly double the population of its runner-up, Kaunas, as Vilnius alone accounts for 21% of Lithuania's total population within its urban center. But Vilnius isn't just the cultural and economic center of Lithuania. It is also a geographical center of Europe. While several locations contend for this honor depending on the measurement criteria, the Guinness Book of World Records recognizes the nearby village of Girija as the epicenter of the old continent. The second largest city, as mentioned, is Kaunas, with approximately 290,000 residents. Together, Lithuania's two largest cities account for about 31% of the total populace. Two more cities boast populations exceeding 100,000. Of these, Klaipėda is particularly notable, as it is the port city and serves as a gateway to one of the country's most noteworthy geographical features, the Lithuanian Sahara, more commonly known as the Curonian Spit. This 9-8-kilometer long, thin, and curved sand dune formation separates the Curonian Lagoon from the Baltic Sea coast. Overall, Lithuania is a predominantly lowland country, with its highest point being Aukštojas Hill, at a modest 293.84 meters. However, this isn't entirely accurate, as the Vilnius TV tower stands at 326 meters, making it the highest point in the country, located in the village of Televizijos Bokštas. Lithuanian is, in fact, one of the oldest languages in the world today, recognized as the oldest living Indo-European language in Europe. What Lithuania lacks in terms of mountains, it makes up for in other recognizable reliefs. such as the already mentioned Curonian lagoon, which it shares with Russia's Kaliningrad Oblast. This mostly freshwater lagoon has a total size of almost 1,600 square kilometers, though the Lithuanian part comprises only 381 square kilometers. Lithuania, however, makes better use of it, as Klaipėda is its only port, besides being the former base of the Teutonic Knights. The lagoon was formed 3,000 years BCE, as winds created the Curonian spit dune, which split the two bodies of water. But according to Baltic myths, which we, of course, prefer, the Curonian spit was formed by a giantess named Neringa to protect her home from the rage of Naglis, an evil dragon. With its inviting coast, Lithuania's climate is both maritime and continental, and the country as a whole is located in a cool temperate zone, meaning it experiences moderately warm summers and moderately cold winters. The average temperature in the hottest month of July is around 17 degrees Celsius, while in winter, it hovers around -5 degrees Celsius. But the moderate weather didn't deter around 4 million foreign tourists from visiting the country in 2021, most of them from close neighbors Poland and Latvia. While Lithuania's west boasts abundant water, its eastern side holds an equally impressive share in the form of lakes. There are nearly 3,000 lakes larger than 1 hectare, supplemented by 1,600 ponds across the territory. Land reclamation and swamp drainage have been of major importance to Lithuanians since 1991. Some of these lakes also form parts of natural borders with Belarus, a stark contrast to the vulnerable Suwalki Gap, a land corridor connecting Kaliningrad to Belarus, which is less than 3 kilometers wide at its narrowest point. Other lakes are used even better, like the Gulf of Trakai, which boasts one of Lithuania's most memorable sites, Trakai Island Castle. Built amidst Lithuania's glory days in the 15th century, it stands today as an unmatched, idyllic vision from a fantasy saga, a scene typically found only in video games. Yet, this fairy tale scene is a rare glimpse into a softer side of Lithuania, as the lush forests covering a third of the country often root themselves in a far more somber history, an atmosphere amplified by the echoes of the past and the realities of the present. The true history begins in the 3rd millennium BCE with the arrival of the Baltic tribes, as the climate became more hospitable. This era remains shrouded in mystery, perhaps more so than any other in Europe, largely because the Baltic lands were too remote even for the Roman Empire, though trade did occur along the Amber Road. Shielded by their challenging terrain, the Balts largely resisted Western cultural influence, often opting to pay tribute to local rulers or the Kievan Ruses to prevent raids. By the 13th century CE, the history of Lithuania as we know it today began to unfold as the German Teutonic Order moved east, conquering areas of Estonia and Latvia, which prompted the Lithuanian tribes to unite. The only crowned king of Lithuania, Mindaugas, ruled from 1236 to 1263. Although he was baptized Roman Catholic at his coronation on the 6th of July 1253, now an official state holiday in Lithuania, his country largely remained pagan. Following his reign and assassination, Lithuania had no other kings but was led by powerful Grand Dukes. Under them, the power of Lithuania grew. Grand Duke Jogaila accepted the Polish offer to become their king, married their monarch, and converted his duchy to Christianity in 1386. To put it in a different perspective, this was only 106 years before the Americas were discovered by Europeans. In a way, the Baltics were the final frontier of the European continent, battling formidable foes like the Golden Horde, the Teutonic Knights, and the Muscovites. Lithuania reached its peak under Vytautas the Great in the 14th century, becoming the largest country in Europe. Yet, a new threat arose in the east. As the Muscovites grew stronger, Battling the Russians pushed Lithuanians closer to the Poles, leading to the formation of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth in 1569. This federation was one of the largest and most populous countries in Europe in the 16th and 17th centuries. They enjoyed a golden age and resisted the Muscovites. Kings of Poland and Grand Dukes of Lithuania were elected by the nobility. However, after the Commonwealth unwisely engaged Russia and lost Lithuanian territories, the Swedes descended upon the Baltics in the Northern Wars, engaged in wars against these two formidable powers, and further weakened by plague and famine. The Commonwealth lost 40% of its populace, ultimately leading to its partition by Russia, Prussia, and Austria. After a brief period as a Russian protectorate, Lithuania ceased to exist in 1795. Occupied by the Germans in World War I, Lithuania regained its independence in 1918. For Lithuania, it quickly became clear that World War I was not the war to end all wars, as it immediately faced conflicts with the Soviets, the Bermontians, and the Poles, who seized Vilnius. During World War II, Lithuanians proclaimed neutrality, but this held no interest for the Soviets, nor later for the Germans. As the Third Reich took control, the horrific extermination of 250,000 Jews living in Lithuania unfolded. When the war finally ended, Lithuania fell under Soviet occupation, saw 5% of its population deported, and remained part of the USSR until its demise in 1990. Since then, Lithuania joined the European Union and NATO in 2004 and adopted the euro in 2015, after briefly returning to its own currency, the litas, in the post-Soviet era. More recently, Lithuania has leveraged its strategic position as a de facto roadblock to Kaliningrad, using it as a bargaining chip for NATO's interests. This stance, however, severely endangers the country, not least because in 2019, much of Lithuania's imports still originated from Russia. Remember the population decline we mentioned at the very start of this video. It turns out to be a particularly stark one, as Lithuania faces the second fastest projected population decline in Europe, trailing only Bulgaria. It's estimated that Lithuania's population will shrink by 1% over the next 30 years, reducing its populace to approximately 1 million people, primarily due to mass migration. The intriguing question of why a country's population tends to decline upon joining the European Union is a complex topic that might warrant its own dedicated video. Or perhaps the decline has nothing to do with that, and people are simply running scared from sites like the Hill of Crosses and the Hill of Witches, two rather eerie places you'll find in Lithuania, perfectly on brand with its persistent pagan influences. While Lithuania's highest point is quite modest, its men certainly stand tall, as the country is primarily known for its exceptional basketball players. While not many non-basketball playing Lithuanians are globally renowned, the number of Americans with at least partial Lithuanian roots is remarkable. Jason Sudeikis, Rose Namajunas, Robert Zemeckis, John C. Reilly, and truly many others. Hopefully, we haven't scared you too much with Lithuania's more enigmatic side, as this country truly deserves to be explored in person, firsthand. And besides, those potato dumplings might just be worth risking a pagan ritual or two in the deep forests of Lithuania.